The San Francisco 49ers are looking to get back to their winning ways, and they're hoping the 2025 draft class can take them there. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Niners 2025 draft class. Before we do that, Ryan is getting married here in a couple of weeks, so send him an early wedding day present by hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell, and even leaving a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of the Niners draft. And Ryan, that being said, let's pull up their
Let's do it.
selections here. So, started off with, I need to update mine. One second here. Starting off with then Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia in the first round with the 11th overall pick. Then they went to Alfred Collins in the second round, defensive tackle out of Texas. Then linebacker Nick Martin out of Oklahoma State with their first pick in the third round, with their second pick in the third round. Upton Stout, cornerback out of Western Kentucky. Then and kick off their day three selections. One of my favorite players in this draft class, not only just because I'm an Indiana fan, but also really liked what he can do as a player. CJ West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. Then their first offensive player, Jordan Watkins, receiver out of Ole Miss. Then they got Jordan James, running back out of Oregon. As we all saw last year, Niners could not have had enough running backs last year as everybody just kept getting hurt. And so then Marques Sigle, safety out of Kansas State to end the fifth round. And then in the seventh round as well, another Indiana guy, Kurtis Rourke, quarterback from that university. Then Connor Colby, offensive guard out of Iowa. And then wrapping up their draft, Junior Bergen, receiver out of Montana. And I will say this, just kind of just looking at this draft, this is one, I think, kind of a stereotypical Niners draft. A lot of late day three picks, guys that they can maybe develop, but then also then to be some special teams guy, bring some competition in. But also too, I think this was exactly the route I thought they would go because everyone talks about how great the offense was and Kyle Shanahan's offense was over these past couple of years, which it absolutely was. Not taking any credit away from it. I'm curious how they're going to do this year after moving on from Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey coming back from some pretty serious season-ending injuries. But I think what they really lost last year was that defensive bravado, that ability to kind of like smash mouth some of these teams and really get after the quarterback. Some of that also then helps when your offense is elite. So teams are having to kind of try and keep pace and be more aggressive on their end. But I think really with these first five picks, really focusing on the front seven, the defensive line as a whole in particular, get some more running mates for Nick Bosa. I think they did a really good job with the talent that they added.
Yeah. I I thought this was a good draft. I had Mykel Williams a little bit lower on my board. He had some injury concerns, lack of production. And then reports were he didn't test out super well at his Georgia Pro Day. Not nearly as athletic as he had looked on tape. So I thought that was a little high, but I think it was him and Shamar Stewart. If you're really looking for like that hand in the dirt edge defender, it was him and Shamar Stewart. And I thought like he went at 11, Shamar Stewart went at what was that, 17, 18 to the Bengals. And
17. Yeah.
yeah, and so, like, those guys weren't too far apart. I like the, Alfred Collins pick. I thought that was good value. They started to lose me a little bit here. Nick Martin and Upton Stout I had as day 3 kinda developmental guys. With that being said, if you tell me they got CJ West as well, I had him as a round 3 guy. So, it kinda evens out for me, on some of the picks I don't necessarily like in the 3rd round. Um but, yeah, and then day 3 that yeah, they made a lot of selections. They took a lot of developmental guys, that could potentially come in and contribute for them. I like the Kurtis Rourke pick. I think Brock Purdy is something that he could aspire to be, and, like, that's probably his ceiling. He's not quite the athlete of Brock Purdy,
That's yeah.
but I think that he could come in and be the point guard in that offensive system, that they would need him to be, especially if he's a backup and he's only have to do it for short periods of time. So, all in all, I thought
That's
this was
fair.
a good draft class, with the 49ers. There's nothing that really blows me away, but there's nothing really that, I can poke any major holes in.
Yeah, I think they just got good value overall with their selection. I think they were very pointed also to get guys like on the defensive front seven. As I said, I think offensively too, getting some of these day three guys, a speedster like Jordan Watkins. I think
Mhm.
maybe that's your Debo Samuel replacement, but also a guy too within a Kyle Shanahan offense where there's a lot of motion, a lot of crossing routes as well. Like to create space, get guys open. You get a ball into a guy like his hands as well, like who like who knows what he can do with it, and Kyle Shanahan can maybe scheme him open. So maybe that's going to be a guy they can go and develop and pair him up with Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk as well. And so, but yeah, I think with Kurtis Rourke, I think that's a fair point about like just being that point guard and that guy. Like if you go look at what Kurtis Rourke's strength was, it was accuracy. Like, and so if he's not, I don't think he's going to replace Brock Purdy. The Niners are more likely going to pay Brock Purdy $50 million is than to give the reins over to Kurtis Rourke, unless if he just completely
Yeah.
develops. And that's coming from an Indiana fan. Like I root hard for Indiana. Like I normally just am just love watching really bad football, but this year with Indiana, they were actually really good. And Kurtis Rourke had a great year there. CJ West obviously had a great year there. Those are two of the main guys why they were there. But CJ West is going to have a significantly bigger impact overall this year on the Niners' production, and I think his run stuffing capabilities and his pass rush upside than I think Kurtis Rourke ever will in San
Oh yeah.
Francisco. So, and I'd love to be wrong. I think it'd be great to see him do really well. So, but for the Niners though, I think this was just a good. This is one of my more favorite drafts. Like on who they went after, and like in their strategy was very clear and obvious, and on where they needed to improve, and they addressed that. Fair point about Mykel Williams, but I also think too that's going to be the thing we say about a lot of edge rushers overall. Is like, oh, this guy didn't pan out, but then there was another guy that you passed on that got taken 3 picks later. But there were so many edge rushers that
Yeah.
I guess like you could say like, well, why didn't you scout this guy? But there's not that much of a difference between other guys. It might be a scheme fit, or it might be like an organizational
He
fit
was
on why some guys do well or some guys don't do well. So I think Mykel Williams can do well. I
No, I
think
do
he'd
too.
also be a bust, but I do think he's one of the better edge rushers in this
He
draft.
was in he's in that range from like 10 to 40 of where there's like very little drop off in these players.
Yeah,
They just kind of got stuck at the top of a tier. Similar I think to like the Patriots at 4. Like they got stuck at from that like 4 to 10, 4 to 12 range of player, and they just had to draft at the top of the tier instead of getting better value. And so I felt like that's kind of the situation there more rather than me disliking Mykel Williams. I had him just more in the middle of that tier rather than at the top. So
makes sense.
I had of all their picks, I have more of a problem with like the two third round picks. But again, I think CJ West should have been a third round pick. So I'm not going to fault them too much for that there either. So I'm going to give this draft a B. I felt that they made a lot of picks. They got a lot of developmental guys on day 3. Thought their first 2 picks were good. But I just the value there on the end of day 2 I felt could have been a little bit better. But with CJ West being there at in the 4th round, I give them a little bit of a pass on those 2. So,
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know if I said my grade. I was gonna give an A minus. I think this is one of my.
okay.
I think this was one of the better drafts
Yeah.
overall, just kind of with the strategy. And their biggest weakness was, I think, just kind of overall defensive front 7 talent. Now they do
Mhm.
need to improve the offensive line. I think that maybe could be a fault. They didn't really address that till the 7th round as a whole. So if there's going to be people commenting like how they didn't really address that, I get that. I think that's a fair complaint. But they also have addressed that position decent bit over the past couple drafts as well. So there's some young
Yeah.
talent that they maybe feel positive on that they can go and develop. So we'll have to wait and see. In general, though, I think the way the 49ers like get back to their winning ways is by having a very dominant front 7. You have Robert Saleh now as their defensive coordinator. This offense is going to offense. Like there's a lot of things to like about it. It's how are they going to bounce back? We'll have to see. But people are getting frustrated with Kyle Shanahan for not winning. But that being said, though, too, he's been to two Super Bowls now, 3 if you include the Falcons as like the offensive coordinator, where he run this offense when healthy. He can make this offense one of the best offenses in the league. They were just so
Yeah.
injured last year, and also
Yeah.
too. On top of that, the last time they had a season like this was COVID. They were banged up, and also it was a COVID year with people testing positive and everything like that. Like, and then you couldn't play, and that was when like they really struggled. So if they can stay
Yeah.
healthy, I think this offense is going to get back to it. They need this front 7 to bounce back. If the defensive front 7 bounces back, I think they can go back and make another deep push in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think that this team is primed for a bounce back season. Honestly, the biggest problem that they're going to have is I think Seattle. Seattle made a lot of moves, but I think they're about the same. Uh, Arizona's getting better, and the Rams are a dominant force right
Yeah,
now. That's going to be the biggest issue I think the 49ers are going to have. It's not going to really have a whole lot to do with the 49ers. So, I like this draft. I think it's going to help them win. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of the 49ers draft class, and I'm going to go cough after this video. So thanks.